Hello everybody, hello Facebook Live.
Hey everybody.
Jamie and I are out hiking right now. I thought this was a great opportunity to do a live video while we're out in nature. We're actually in Ellenville. We're going up by the waterfall. My Buttermilk Waterfall is the one that is the waterfall that you leave outside of Ellenville. So we're going up that trail and we're going to loop around. Some of this is on state land, on Sam's Point state land. Some of it is on private property. So I recommend before you go anywhere hiking, make sure you know where you're going and make sure you have permission to be on private property. We in fact do have permission to be on this private property. We're not on it yet. So Jamie's going to read the questions. I'm going to answer. This is an email interview that I'm doing for a local newspaper. So I just thought it'd be fun. Just thought it'd be fun to answer the questions.
All right. Name? Your name?
Marcus Guiliano.
And your restaurant.
Aromatime Bistro.
All right.
Let's get to the good questions.
Do you have a first food memory that shaped you, an experience that opened up a world to you?
Do I have a first food memory that shaped me, or an experience that opened up the world to me?
Yes. I'm assuming the world of food and
Well,
wanting
yeah.
to eat.
I think we had two. I've had one experience as a little boy, visiting my grandmother, learning how to.
Grandmother cooked all the time.
She cooked all the time.
Always.
Fantastic. Italian, come from an Italian family. So cooking was always enough. We never went out to eat. Somebody was always cooking. It was usually my grandmother or one of my aunts. And I can remember 5 years old, helping my grandmother make fresh pasta. I can remember going in her garden and helping her in the garden. So I think at a very young age, that I was just conditioned that you cook good food, and food means good family around, and that's just how you handle that. If there was something that really shaped my current culinary path, I think, Jamie, you can agree, I think when you got pregnant with Courtney,
Yes.
that really was a game changer, because we were unhealthy. We didn't care what we ate. We didn't know any better, to tell you the truth. We just ate whatever.
We weren't educated.
We weren't educated. So being a professional chef, working at a lot of hotels and country clubs, I knew that the food supply was just in terrible shape. Watching, even at the big hotels I worked at, like the Broadmoor Hotel in Colorado Springs, 5-star property, beautiful restaurants, but watching the Cisco truck and the U.S. food truck, or back then the Kraft food truck, pull up and unload food for hours every day of the week, I was like, where does this come from? Where in the world does this amount of filet mignon cut to 8 ounces come from, or pork tenderloins, or whatever it was? I said, this stuff is so uniform and so precise. It's more like a factory. And I knew that was not the answer to our food supply, or the answer to good cooking great food. The really pivotal point, though, Jamie, was when we were in Colorado. That's when you were pregnant.
So almost 18 years ago.
18 years ago. Jay Frost came to me. Jay Frost's brother hung himself in the book Fast Food Nation. If you've never read Fast Food Nation, it's a great read. It's about our beef industry and food supply in general, based out of Colorado. Some of the stories. And Jay's brother hung himself because the farm wasn't viable anymore. And I rounded up, myself and some other chefs, we rounded up about a dozen chefs in Colorado Springs, and we started working directly with the farmers. And the farmers got excited, we got excited, we sat down at a table, and we looked at the farmers and said, hey guys, we have $5 million worth of purchasing power on this side of the table, or $1 million, whatever it was. And all the farmers' eyes lit up. And Jay started farming my potatoes at the restaurant I was at. We used his potatoes exclusively 100% all year long. Contracted a price out with him, a fair price, what he needed. And Jay came to me and he said, Marcus, I wanted my kids to go out, leave the farm. Graduate high school, leave the farm, get off the farm. He goes, but now with what's happening, I know this farm is viable. And I want my kids to go to college, get an education, and come back, and I want the option to be there for them to work the farm. Now, this is a farm that his brother just hung himself a couple of years earlier because there was no hope on this farm. And that was, watch this pipe here. And that for me was really a pivotal point in my cooking career, when I realized I could impact far more than just the patrons sitting at the table. When we could impact the actual producers, the farmers, the people who are responsible for our food. So I think there's kind of 3 pivotal points there that define my path, my career.
Excellent. Do you have a food philosophy, and how did you develop it?
Well,
kind of
that's the
start of it.
Do I have a food philosophy, and how did I develop it? So the last question kind of led into this one. It's a perfect. Gee, there's trees down all over on this trail. There weren't this many. There was 1 or 2 last time I was here, but that was a couple months ago.
There's a lot.
So my food philosophy is to support real food as close to us as possible. Now, of course, supporting all locals, not impossible, it's very hard to do. You can't buy local avocados, local lemons. You can't buy a lot of local produce in the winter. Although we do buy a lot of local items year-round, a lot of local items. But my philosophy is local first, always independent. Always look for an independent supplier, an independent producer, whether it's ingredients in the bar, like vodka, gin, bourbon. Look for the small guys that are doing the right thing in a small community, employing.
Oh, I feel like we're in an obstacle today.
This is an obstacle course today. So it looks like there's still, yeah. So support people that are doing the right thing. You know, when Jack Daniels was sold to Diageo is a massive conglomerate who controls a major share of the alcohol beverages that are consumed at bars and restaurants. When they bought Johnny Walker, they actually sold the you knew this, Jamie, they sold the Johnny Walker plant.
Yeah.
They didn't sell, they just abandoned it. And 700 people lost their job in a small town in Scotland. And for us, we don't want to support a company that's doing that. Because we know what it's like to lose jobs in our community. We've lost jobs because companies have gone out of business, or they've been outsourced to other parts of the country or other parts of the world. And we all work hard for our money, and it's hard for us to turn around and ask you for support. Say support independent, buy local, and for us to turn around and buy brands from a huge conglomerate that don't care about community, the environment. They're willing to pay sports stars or actors, actresses, millions of dollars for ads when all that money could have gone to a community that needed it. Even our salt comes from a single owned mine out of Utah. Himalayan salt's great, but there's 55 different mines in the Himalayan mountains. 55 different companies, mines are operating out of Pakistan. You don't know what you're getting. You're buying a Himalayan salt that you think is, but you really don't know if it's how much better it is than the other Himalayan salt. And it's confusing. So the philosophy is buy local, buy independent, have a relationship with the people who you buy from. So we
try to form relationships with all, not all, but as many as we can.
We're taking 20 people to Italy in November, and we're going to all the wineries that we buy from. So, and by the way, that there still is room to get on that trip. $4,000 a person, 8 days, includes meals, hotel, transportation, flights, double occupancy though. But if somebody wanted to jump on last minute, I know Italy last minute's not a thing people really do, travel abroad last minute, but there is some seats available. Somebody wanted to jump in on that. So we're going to places that we buy from, that we have relationships with, that I'm going to show you these are the people who we're proud to buy from. So that's the philosophy in a nutshell. You want to add anything onto that, Jamie?
No, I think you got it. Support who we can. We want to support.
It drives me crazy when I have to buy a product from General Mills. It doesn't happen often at all, but even a subsidiary of General Mills, it just drives me nuts. Or ConAgra, one of those big suppliers.
And they buy things so quickly.
They have organic labels. It's a problem. Like Cascadian Farms. Yeah. It goes to a big label. Prickers.
Ticks.
Ticks? Yeah, I wouldn't doubt ticks through that grass. So it drives me crazy when they buy up Cascadian Farms and other brands, and all of a sudden you think you're supporting, because they don't change it. They don't change the imagery. They still make it as this.
They actually can sometimes do better marketing.
They do better marketing.
And they do better design to get the consumer to want to continue buying.
And to think that it's coming from.
And to think that it's still coming from a small little farmer guy.
Right. So, like last year, Applegate was sold. It was a $35 million company, I think it was sold to Hormel, which is a massive. So hopefully we'll be able to continue service going up the mountain here. That's something I didn't think of. What's the next question, Jamie?
Next question. Tell us about your career. Where did you start?
How did I start my career and how do we culminate in Aroma Time? So, great question.
Well, you've been in the service industry.
Started my career in Ellenville, the Novelty, waiting tables. Then went to Gold Mountain. Waited tables, started cooking. Then was reading a culinary book more than my accounting book. And decided to start cooking. And I went to school at Sullivan County Community College. Got my degree there. Now we're actually on what's called Ice Cave Mountain Road. And the beginning of it is on private land, but where we intersected it, it's actually on state land right now. There's a couple different paths we can go here, but we're going to loop around and go down past the access trail to the caves, the wild caves. Oh. All right, so began in Ellenville, went to Sullivan. I really enjoyed the program. Because I had a liking for food. Some of the professors pulled me aside and, you're talented. You should go here. You should do that. They kind of took me under their wings. And I was advised to go to the Greenbrier in West Virginia.
But first you went to London.
Went to the Greenbrier first.
Greenbrier first, yeah.
Greenbrier first. So I was advised to go to the Greenbrier first, applied, and got rejected. Walter Scheib, who then went on to be the White House chef, sent me a rejection letter. Wasn't too happy. I went to work at the Broadmoor in Colorado Springs, Colorado, longest running 5-star property in the U.S. And I think my second week there, I made an appointment to sit down with Stephen Bartlin, Mr. Bartlin, who was the president and CEO of the Broadmoor Hotel Resort. And the secretary said I wanted to introduce myself to Mr. Bartlin. I'm a new employee. I just want to say hello. And she was a little shocked because not many frontline employees do that, go right to the top. And I sat down with him, went over my career goals, told him I wanted to work at the Greenbrier. And he says to me, he goes, Marcus, I used to be the general manager of the Greenbrier. Let me call up Rod Stoner for you and get you a job there. And I had applied twice at that point now to the Greenbrier with no success. And I was like, man, that's how it's done. So I went on to the Greenbrier, the Broadmoor. At the Greenbrier, Peter Timmons took me under his wing. Peter Schindler, who has a fantastic restaurant in Old San Juan. Hope everything's well with him in Old San Juan. I've not heard from him, been trying to reach out to him. He has a restaurant there called Marmalade. Probably Old San Juan's best restaurant. And from there, from the Greenbrier in West Virginia, you had a unique opportunity to go student teach in London. And I had an opportunity to go work for Pierre Kaufman, who was a chef who trained Gordon Ramsay. And I wanted to work for Gordon Ramsay at the time, but I was told he would kill me. It was 1997. He only had 2 Michelin stars at the time, working on his 3rd. His first book was out. I was a fan of him for a couple years. Before anybody else ever knew of him, I was watching him and knew that this guy was going to be it. And he had worked for Kaufman, trained under Kaufman. So I went to work for Kaufman. Went to work for Anton Mosman the last couple of weeks I was there, and Paul Gaylor. Lanesboro, cooked dinner for Princess Diana a month before she was killed. So all that kind of shaped my career and got me started in the food industry. And then when we got back, we got married. The year later, you got pregnant, and we said it's about real food. Now at this point, it's getting harder and harder for me to work at places because I'm getting more of a resistance to
what you believe in.
what I believed in, and what restaurants were willing to serve you guys did not jive with me. I wasn't there to put trans fats into the fryer, all this butter, sugar, and cream, white flour, fried foods, food colorings. I wasn't about that. So I couldn't really work at a place that wanted me to do that. And I tried. I got a really good job in Larchmont at a country club when we moved back from Colorado. And it just didn't work. My values were being compromised. I wasn't eating the food that we were cooking. I knew the food we were cooking was good, expensive food. It was crap, basically. Next question.
How did you build the menu of Aroma Time, and how does it continue to evolve?
Sure. How do we build the menu at Aroma Time? Build the menu at Aroma Time when we first opened with what we could get. Like
there were not a lot of resources that we could use.
The bar menu and everything. I mean, we used what we could. For a small period there, if we were out of a beef supply from the beef person we were buying beef from, we missed a week of having beef on the menu. This is like year one, 6 months in. Yeah. And as we became more successful, distributors, farmers were more likely to get us product that we needed. A lot of the products were FedExed in the beginning. Some still are now too.
And you had to go pick stuff up?
I had to go pick stuff up in New Jersey and in Hunts Point. At the one distributor, I had to go pick stuff up every week. And now those distributors deliver to us. So planning the menu was really on our values on food and what we could get at the time. And same thing with the bar. We originally started with the big brands at the bar, with Jack Daniels and Absolute. But as soon as micro distilling wave hit New York, after 2004, 2005, we started phasing all those big brands out, and
we started with vodka.
Went from vodka to switch to everything else. All right.
Do you have a tip or two that you could pass on to our home chefs?
Tip or two to pass on to the home chefs.
You feel passionately about.
Yeah.
From food storage to how to get the seeds out of pomegranate.
All right, so that's a great question. What do I feel passionate about? Of course I feel passionate about local food, about real food. I'm a huge advocate of people experimenting with food. I'm a huge advocate of people joining what's called community-supported agriculture, CSA. Join a CSA, buy a share, and for 4, 5, 6 months, you will get different foods every single week. You will get kale, spinach, beets, different types of beets, cucumbers, based upon the season and what's available. And that'll force you to learn how to cook new things, learn how to experiment, expand your taste buds. And you're supporting something local. Most CSAs that I know of are sustainable, organic, biodynamic, low spray, no spray, along those lines. And you can talk directly to the farmer. You can see how your food's being grown. And that's obviously something that I'm extremely passionate about, is that local connection and that good connection. You know, let's face it, local's great, but we're all going to buy mangoes, we're all going to buy bananas. And that's when you look for an organic banana, you look for an organic mango. But when you're buying local, have conversations with the farmer, find out how he grows stuff. If he's not certified organic, don't worry about that. If he lets you go on the farm and visit and see what he's doing, that's more important than him being certified organic. It's all about, most of these farmers.
I bet that's a snake over there.
Nowhere.
Over that way. Missed it.
No, I stepped on a branch.
No, Marcus is over there.
It was over there.
Not a branch.
What was I saying? Jamie thought she saw a snake, or I slept on a big branch. I think it was me, though. So, yeah, eat local, learn about local foods. Also, if a farmer invites you onto his property, into his farm, most farmers that live on their land aren't stupid enough to spray harmful chemicals, especially on a smaller scale. I mean, yeah, when you're growing corn, certain crops need more chemical assistance, but a lot of them don't. So find out from the farmer. Next question, Jay?
Any other tips? Maybe, I don't know, something interesting.
Something interesting. Do you have any tips?
I'm trying to think.
You always adjust recipes when you bake. You love to bake.
I love to bake, so I use maple syrup, agave, spelt flour. I never cook with eggs.
You substitute eggs, butter, white flour, and white sugar for all substitutes when you bake, and you experiment.
I do vegan.
But you know, nowadays, when you started doing that, there was no internet to really go out there and find 300 recipes for vegan banana bread.
Right.
Or now 3,000
Now
recipes.
you can find that.
Right?
Yeah.
So it was a little bit more challenging to do that years ago, you know, in the 90s. But you substitute it. Even if you find a recipe that you like, you figure out how to substitute and change it. So
I just play around with it.
So you make it cholesterol-free and whole grains and less refined sweeteners.
Yes. What's something you want to master making that you haven't yet?
Something master making that I haven't yet. Ooh, that's a good question. You know, we just learned barbecue last year. I'd never really done that kind of smoking in the barbecue, so that was something new I did. You know, I love different ethnicities. Years ago, I wanted to learn Asian food, so I helped our friend Elmer open a Thai restaurant. Remember that, Jamie?
Yep.
His restaurant, Wild Ginger.
How to make raw food? You went into.
I wanted to learn how to make raw food, so I went and volunteered all week at Pure Food and Wine in New York City. That was back in 2005, 2006. Learned how to make raw foods.
That you would like to master.
That's a good question. You know, I'm really not.
Relationships? No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not really turned on by all that new way of cooking with hydrogen and all that kind of stuff. What do they even call that?
Oh yeah, the liquid smoke.
Yeah, not the liquid smoke, but it's that other stuff. Yeah. We started sous videing, which is really good. It's helped our production and our timeliness, getting food out and yields. You know, for me, the biggest thing is continuing learning how to run a good business. Being a good business owner is really, marketing, analytics, new ideas, all that kind of stuff is super important to me to be able to be a successful business owner and keep the business viable.
What's your ultimate comfort food?
Ultimate comfort food. I love beans. Give me a bowl of black beans, I'm happy. Give me some cornbread, I'm happy. Love rice. Jasmine rice, basmati rice. Simple foods. I'm a simple eater. I don't need things complicated. I like to mono eat, which if you literally gave me a bowl of basmati rice and a sauce with it, I'd be totally fine with that. Throw in some bok choy or some broccoli or throw some beans on it, I'd be totally fine with that. So my comfort food is simplicity food.
Please tell us about the recipe you are sharing with the readers. Where did you discover it?
So we need to share a recipe with this. Okay, so we have to... What recipe do you want to share, Jamie?
Ooh.
We always share our soup recipe. It's on our website. It's so simple again. Organic sweet potatoes, yellow curry paste, Thai yellow curry paste, organic coconut milk, salt, and water. And that's it, folks. Our chocolate torte recipe is on our website. That's super easy. Have you been looking for maitake mushrooms at all?
No.
I have not either. I bet we'll find some if we start looking. So, the chocolate torte recipe is simple. Did you check for ticks through those long grass?
I found one.
So, the chocolate torte recipe is simple. Maple syrup, raw cacao powder or chocolate powder, coconut oil, and it just basically cold sets. And you can make a crust. You don't have to make a crust for the bottom. Our crust is the same ingredients, and you add shredded coconut flakes. It's super simple. So, now we're still on Ice Cave Mountain Road. Ice Cave Mountain Road, which is the road that starts at the waterfall in Ellenville as you're leaving. That road that goes up there. Yep. But I believe now we're on private property again. I'll be back, or we will be heading into private property soon. So.
That's it.
That's the last of the questions?
That's it.
Cool.
If you have any questions, leave questions, comments.
Leave a comment. And we'll leave this video up and we'll put this video on YouTube. And check it out. because I have to condense that down. It's only 1,000 words for the newspaper. So, but that will be coming up in a local newspaper, and I will.
And I'm just along for the ride.
You're along for everything. Everybody, thanks for watching.
Thank you. Have a great day. Enjoy the beautiful weather. Get outside.
Get outside. This is a
beautiful fall day.
Beautiful October. So we're actually going past the access trail that gets you to the Wild Caves. Does anybody know about the Wild Caves? A lot of locals really don't know about it. Some of the old timers do.
We need to plan a hike. Maybe we should do that.
Yeah, because I'm a docent for the state, which means
right?
you got to register the hike and go in, because they don't want anybody just going into this part of the mountain, because it's treacherous, dangerous, off the beaten path, off the path altogether. And but the Wild Caves is the largest open fault line in North America with corresponding ice caves. I had to add that last part in. It's a 400-acre open fault line. It's just right up over the ridge here. So if you're in Ellenville and you're looking at the letter that the school makes, the high school seniors, it says 18 now. Over that ridge on the other side is a world of canyons and caves and just big gashes in the earth. And up there you have the Grand Canyon of the Gunks. And you also have the Shingle Gully Canyon there that you can access from Smiley Road. But again, you must tell the state you're going in, so you have to go to Sam's Point, and you have to get on an approved hike with them, so you have a guide to take you through there. It's treacherous. There's lots of crevices and cracks, and it's going to be hard to get you if something happens if you're not with a group. So don't attempt to do that on your own. But it's right here, and it's a true asset that we have in Ellenville, and just all the trails in general are a true asset, the mountain here. So yeah, so that's it. Thanks for watching. Leave some comments, leave some questions, and we shall answer.